Using Bootstrap in Dreamweaver. Bootstrap is a popular free HTML, CSS, and JavaScript framework for developing responsive mobile-first websites. The framework includes responsive CSS and HTML templates for buttons, tables, navigation, image carousels, and other elements that you can use on your web page. A few optional JavaScript plugins are available, which enable developers with even basic coding knowledge to develop great responsive websites. Dreamweaver lets you create Bootstrap documents and also edit existing web pages created with Bootstrap. Whether they are designed fully with Bootstrap files or works in progress, you can edit them in Dreamweaver to not only edit code, but also use visual editing features such as live view editing, visual CSS designer, visual media queries, and extract to make design changes. So can you migrate fluid grids into Bootstrap? So many of us already have a lot of work that we have done responsibly, and we use the fluid grids from Dreamweaver or some sort of boilerplate. The simple answer is unfortunately no. However, the user experience in Dreamweaver while creating and designing Bootstrap documents is similar to that of the fluid grid documents. For example, you can get started by creating a Bootstrap document right from the New Document dialog box, while you create fluid grid documents for three basic form factors: mobile, tablet, and desktop. For Bootstrap, you start by creating a document for basic screen sizes: small, medium, large, and extra large. The layout editing options that are displayed when you click elements in the Bootstrap documents also look similar to that of the fluid grid documents. Can I import old Bootstrap sites into the latest version of Dreamweaver? Bootstrap versions that are currently supported include version 4.0 and 3.3.7. Yes, you can import old sites into the latest version of Dreamweaver. When you do so, Dreamweaver looks for the Bootstrap CSS file in the root/CSS/folder. If the site has a Bootstrap version 3 CSS file, the Bootstrap version in Managed Site Advanced Setting Bootstrap is set to 3.3.7. If the site has a Bootstrap v4 CSS file, the Bootstrap version in Managed Site Advanced Settings Bootstrap is set to 4.0.0. If the site has no Bootstrap file in the site root/CSS path, the Bootstrap version in Managed Site Advanced Setting Bootstrap is set to 4.0.0. How to create Bootstrap documents. You can begin designing your Bootstrap website using one of the following options in the New Document dialog box. Bootstrap Starter Templates, Bootstrap Templates. Use this option if you want to get started quickly without the hassle of laying out your pages from scratch. Simply edit the text and replace the assets if necessary, and your responsive website is ready. See using Bootstrap Starter Templates for more information on the Adobe support documents. Create an HTML document based on Bootstrap Framework, New Document HTML Bootstrap. Use this option if you want to build your website brick by brick using CSS and Bootstrap components within Dreamweaver. For more information, see Creating HTML Documents based on Bootstrap Framework in the Adobe documentation. You can also do a combination of this. If you use a template and then you wanted to add a component from the Bootstrap component list, you just do that. Don't worry about it. It works very nicely and easily. Using Bootstrap Starter Templates. Bootstrap Starter Templates let you create web pages for popular themes in a jiffy. All the dependent files in the framework are saved automatically. Click File, New. In the New Document dialog box that appears, click Starter Templates and then select the required template from the list of Bootstrap templates. Click Create. An HTML page that is based on the template you choose is created. You can now modify the page by adding or deleting components, editing text, or assets as required. Choose a pre-built layout or a new layout. Include a pre-built layout option provides a basic Bootstrap document structure. If you don't want the basic structure and want to start off with a blank document, deselect the Include a pre-built layout option. Optional, the default layout contains 12 columns with a 30 px gutter. The default screen sizes are 576 pixels, 768 pixels, 992 pixels, and 1200 pixels. If you want to modify these settings, click Customize. The Bootstrap CSS file is modified accordingly. I know it's really hard to decide where you're going to do these screens, and it gets harder all the time because phones are getting larger, tablets are getting larger and smaller, and desktops can be all over the place. The only thing that is at all coherently the same, more or less, experience is laptops. How to use an existing Bootstrap file or files. To use an existing Bootstrap framework file, perform the following actions. Click Use Existing and specify the path of the bootstrap.css file. You can also browse to any location where the CSS is saved, creating Bootstrap documents using existing framework files. If you want to attach any other CSS to your documents, click in the Attach CSS section. In the Attach External Style Sheet dialog box, specify the settings and click OK. Include a pre-built layout option provides a basic Bootstrap document structure. If you don't want it, then just start off with a blank document and click Create. The Bootstrap file that is created is read-only, so you cannot edit these styles using the CSS Designer. The property panes in the CSS Designer is disabled in the Bootstrap files. So you are forced, when you do this, to create your own CSS to modify things. If you want to modify the styling of your Bootstrap document, create another CSS file to override the existing styles and then attach it to a document. I have found that if I use a template and then I just download all the files and I go and manage my site and I don't tell it that it's Bootstrap, that I can then go and edit the Bootstrap file if you want to do that. How to use an existing Bootstrap file or files. You can open Bootstrap files using the following way. Click File, Open, and browse to the Bootstrap HTML file. Create a Dreamweaver site and point the site folder to the folder that contains all your Bootstrap files. When you open a Bootstrap HTML file in Dreamweaver, the rows are highlighted in gray dashed lines with rounded corners. The columns are highlighted in the blue dashed lines. About Bootstrap components. The Bootstrap component option in the Insert panel lists all the Bootstrap components you can add to your web page in Dreamweaver. As you can see in the slide, there are a lot of them. According to the Bootstrap version, in the bootstrap.css file linked to the HTML page, the respective components are listed in the Insert panel. For example, in Bootstrap 4.0, you can see additional components such as cards, badges, and similarly, Lymph icon, panel wells, and thumbnail components are available only in Bootstrap 3.3.7. Depending on the Bootstrap version, you see the respective components in the Insert panel. The components in the Insert panels are popular based on the following criteria. The document in focus. The components in the Insert panels are populated based on Bootstrap version of the Bootstrap file that is linked to the document. Version and site preferences for a non-Bootstrap document. Dreamweaver looks for the version and site preferences, advanced Bootstrap. Depending on the version of this option, the appropriate components are populated. By default for new sites, the version is 4.0. Where the files are saved, for a non-Bootstrap document that is not a part of the site, the Insert panel reflects the 4.0 components. To add a component, drag it from the panel onto the web page. Before you drop the component, take note of the visual aids such as live guides, precision insertion using the DOM panel, and position assist. Use these aids to place the components quickly and accurately on your page. How to add rows and columns. A row, click the required row after which you want to add the new row. Then click the Add New Row icon. A Bootstrap row along with two child column elements with 6 columns each is divided. The code for the added row is as follows. Div class equals row. Div class equals column wildcard 6. Div class equals column wildclass 6 div, where the asterisk represents the current screen size in Dreamweaver. So what does this mean? And you see that I've pointed where the little plus is to add the rows and columns. It means that by default, you're going to be adding a 2-column format in the desktop sides that is going to go down to 1 column in the lower sizes. Columns, select the required columns and then click the Add New Column icon. The selected column is duplicated within its child. The parent would be the row. The column would be the child of the row. All empty columns are assigned a minimum height of 20 pixels. However, this height is not actually added to the page. It is shown only in live view for easier insertion of elements within the columns. So that means it's just so you can see it and insert things if you're using the visual part of this site. How to duplicate rows and columns. Click the row or column you want to duplicate. You can see the arrow above, and then click the duplicate icon in the lower right corner. Click the row or column you want to duplicate and then click the duplicate item. The entire row or column is duplicated along with its contents. The add row or add column option duplicates a row or column with classes but without the content. So you have to add the content. And how to resize columns. Click the required column and drag the handle on the right to resize the column. You see this up here that you can resize the column, and you see the little handle areas. For a Bootstrap 4.0 document, when you resize a column, the column class is added where the asterisk represents the current media query, small, medium, large, or extra large, and the M represents the number of columns that it occupies. For the extra small screen size, the class column N is added. Keep in mind, this is all based on 12 columns, so you have to be working in some sort of multiple of 12 here. For a Bootstrap 3.37 document, when you resize a column, the column asterisk N class is added where the asterisk represents the current media size, which is extra small, small, medium, or large. Notice that these have changed their names between the two versions, and M represents the number of columns that it occupies. Dreamweaver detects the current screen size and adds the appropriate class. To resize columns to suit specific viewpoints, change the viewpoint size using the options in the lower right-hand corner of the scrubber, then resize the columns as appropriate. I've got to tell you, I actually do not use these visual aids much at all. I just work with things more in the code view. I find it much more accurate. It's hard for me to control what's going on with this, and I know some of you like using the WYSIWYG parts and you find that easier to do, but for me, looking at the code just makes so much more sense than looking at the WYSIWYG. I actually only use the WYSIWYG to find the location of where I am on the HTML document or the CSS document, because these get to be so long when you're working on them that it's easy to get lost, and I don't want to spend so much time reading, but I just find it easier to read the code. The differences between the sizes, between these extra small, small, large, extra large, or whatever, they just make sense to me. Just remember that you're really only working with 4 screen sizes, so it doesn't really make any difference what the nomenclature is in each version. They're pretty logical, so it's pretty easy for you to think about them and follow along with that. I know this is a lot to take in, but there is great documentation for you to follow in the Bootstrap documentation, and I have also included in the supplemental material a nice video course that will help you with Bootstrap.